So in this video, we're going to be talking about the BEAM method. And a lot of times when I'm helping students with research, they start off with a research question and then they skip to finding sources. And they don't spend a lot of time thinking about what kind of evidence they might need or how they might use the sources that they're finding. So a lot of times when we're evaluating sources, we're looking at scholarly, we're looking at credibility, kind of evaluating, looking at those criteria. But I want you to take it a step farther and really thinking about how you're going to use the sources that you find in your paper. So one way to do that is using the BEAM method, and it's thinking about basically the 4 different ways that you might use a source in your paper, either as background information, as an exhibit or an example, as an argument, or a method. So the first kind of source is a background source, and these are going to be sources that you're going to use to give some context, some history about your topic. They're going to give a big picture. The information is going to be objective, so there's not going to be any interpretation or analysis. It's going to be well-established facts. And some examples of this might be encyclopedia articles or historical background, information that you might be getting from books. The next type of source is an exhibit source, and I like to think of this as an example. So these would be sources that you would be providing as an example. They might be things that you are interpreting or analyzing. So some examples of that might be if you are doing research on a particular novel, you might have examples of quotes from that particular book. It might be things like surveys or interviews, statistics. And it could even be something that is more of a popular source. So for example, if I was doing research on something like cyberbullying, I could even potentially use some examples from screenshots from Facebook or something like that, that I would never use as a scholarly source, but in this particular way, if I'm using it as an example, it works. So your argument sources are typically going to be those scholarly articles that you're finding about your topic. And these are sources that you are using to strengthen your argument. So you're making a claim and then you're backing it up with arguments that have been made by scholars or experts in that field. The other way that you could use argument sources is it might be a source that you're engaging in and kind of a conversation. So for example, there might be an opinion piece that you are responding to, and then you're backing up what you're saying with that scholarly information. The last type of source is a method source, and depending on your topic, these may be sources that you use less frequently. So a method source is going to be providing a framework or a lens for your topic. So some examples might be feminist theory, Marxist theory, film theory, those kind of theories that you are using as a lens that you're looking at your topic through. So just to summarize, you're going to be relying on those background sources, you're going to be interpreting or analyzing your exhibits, you're going to engage with the arguments and follow methods. So I have an example here of a research question that I am using, and it's looking at the Wonder Woman film and whether or not it portrays Wonder Woman as a feminist icon. So my background information for that topic, I might look at the origins of Wonder Woman, give some history, when it was created. I have some examples here of an encyclopedia article, as well as a book talking about the history of Wonder Woman. And then for my exhibit sources for this topic, I have a screenshot of a part of the old comics. So this was from the original Wonder Woman, and in the comics, she's leaving her homeland for true love. And then contrasting that with a movie where she's leaving her homeland out of this sense of duty and responsibility, and she's going to save the world. So for my argument sources, I have 2 sources here. I have an opinion piece talking about how Wonder Woman is a masterpiece of subversive feminism, and I'm responding to that piece with a scholarly article that is hitting on some of the things that they're talking on in this opinion piece, but responding to it looking at the effects of how overly sexualized female characters can have impacts on women. And then lastly, for this topic, I'm looking at a method, and for this topic, it is feminism. So I'm looking at feminism theory, film theory, and I have some examples here of feminism in films. feminism related to Wonder Woman. I have a book here and an article here. So the beam method just gives you kind of an extra focus looking at your sources, thinking about how you might use them. And I think thinking about it on the front end is going to be a lot easier. When you're selecting those sources, you have an idea of how you're going to incorporate them, and it's going to make your paper much stronger.